The chains of ignorance. They looked down on us for being different. That was their first mistake. Earth had reached the stars, but the stars had no place for Earth. By the year 2489, humanity had colonized 7 moons, established deep space mining facilities across the Kuiper Belt, and mastered faster-than-light travel. And yet, the Galactic Concord, the ruling body of the known galaxy, refused to acknowledge Earth as anything more than a backwater planet crawling with unstable primitives. No official reason was ever given, but intercepted transmissions, barely decrypted through stolen Concord code lattices, painted the truth with cruel clarity. Humans remain unfit for Concord integration. Tribal, emotionally volatile, technologically inconsistent. Let them rot in their isolated cradle. Savages. That's what they called us. Soraya Vale stared at the data feed on her retinal HUD, eyes narrowing. The words of the Concord archivist echoed in her mind like poison. She turned away from the holographic stream and looked out the viewport of the orbital station Asimov's watch. Below, Earth hung silent and beautiful, a blue gem surrounded by a darkness filled with contempt. "They mock us," she muttered, speaking to Director Han in the comm room behind her. "They fear us," Han replied, his voice calm. "Or they will." The Leviathan Protocol had begun as a contingency. Now it was the only path forward. Years earlier, Earth's attempt at diplomacy had ended in fire. The Envoy Dawn, a peaceful vessel carrying scientists and philosophers, had been destroyed after breaching the edge of Concord space. No warning, no negotiation, just a pulse beam strike and silence. Survivors? None. The message had been unmistakable. Humanity was not welcome. But Earth had learned one thing from centuries of war, oppression, and resistance. Rejection breeds resolve. No longer seeking Concord's approval, humanity would build a different future. One that did not ask for a seat. One that took it. Vale's mission was simple. Understand the Concord, infiltrate their cultures, learn their weaknesses, and teach them fear. Humanity had always been underestimated. Concord scholars refer to humans as hyperadaptives, an evolutionary fluke. Too quick to evolve, too slow to conform. But that chaos, that unpredictability, made humanity dangerous. It was time to weaponize it. A comm alert blinked red. Emergency signal, an officer called. Unidentified vessel. Crashed in Sector 19 on Titan's shadow side. Send retrieval teams, Han ordered. Hours later, Vale stood over the body of the alien they had pulled from the wreckage. Relethi by the armor. High caste. Noble. He was delirious, bleeding, gasping a language she barely understood, until his eyes locked onto hers and recognition bloomed. "No," he whispered. "Not humans. Not the savages. Please, don't let the savages take me." He died before she could speak. Vale turned to her team. "Get everything. Every implant, every neural strand. I want his memories. His route. His mission. We just caught our first whisper of the Concord's fear." She looked down at the body. Let them call us savages. Let them speak it in their last breath. Earth was done waiting. Now humanity would rise, not to be accepted, but to rule. Fire beneath our skies. We asked for peace. They answered with silence. Now, we answer in kind. The horizon's wrath emerged from Titan's shadow, its black hull absorbing starlight like a void given shape. Unlike Earth's earlier ships, this was no exploration vessel. This was war incarnate, designed for one purpose, to strike first, without mercy. Commander Soraya Vale stood on the command deck, eyes fixed on the projected star map ahead. Dozens of red markers, Concord listening posts, refueling stations, and slave processing centers blinked in rhythmic patterns. Targets. All of them. Commence Phase 1, she ordered. Across space, humanity's hidden fleet, built in the dark zones of Neptune's orbit, far from Concord eyes, began to move. Silent, precise, invisible to standard alien scans. They had studied Concord's sensor ranges, communication lags, and cultural habits. They knew the Empire better than the Empire knew itself. And now, they were ready to burn it down. The first strike hit a Concord slave outpost on the desolate world of Rethkar 9. No warning, no declaration, just a rain of tungsten rods dropped from high orbit, old Earth tech, brutally effective. The orbital cameras captured everything. Kinetic bombardments smashing the crystalline towers, firestorms racing across the ground, alien overseers vaporized in seconds. Not a single human life was risked. Not a single Concord soul survived. No demands were made. No messages sent. But a recording was left behind, etched into the glass crater in 12-foot-tall plasma scars. We remember. Earth rises. The Concord Senate panicked. Emergency meetings were called on Enrel Prime. Accusations flew. The Relethi, still nursing their wounded pride after losing one of their nobles to a human backwater, called for swift retaliation. Others hesitated. How did they bypass our outpost shields? How do we not detect their fleet? Why would the savages strike without warning? Because that was the point. The Concord had built its arrogance on the illusion of control. Order. Protocol. Humanity shattered it in a single day. On the horizon's wrath, Vale watched the footage play on a loop, analyzing the fear in the alien eyes moments before their deaths. Not with glee, but with cold satisfaction. We've awakened them, her XO, Captain Lin, said beside her. No, Vale corrected. We've unmasked them, and now they'll realize their prey. In a hidden chamber aboard the ship, the neural implant of the dead Relethi noble, harvested on Titan, was being unraveled. Concord warpaths, Senate access codes, even snippets of high command strategy flickered in the decoded memory banks. They hadn't just struck. They'd stolen the Concord's map, and now they would redraw the borders. Soon after, a Concord admiral was captured during a failed pursuit of a human ghost ship near Cygnus Rift. Instead of interrogation, he was forced, at gunpoint, to recite a prepared statement broadcast across Concord space. We called them savages. We denied their place among us. We were wrong. The recording ended with the symbol of Earth burning bright behind the broken admiral. For the first time in 10,000 years, the empires of the Concord tasted fear, and humanity had only just begun. The throne shatters. They called us myths, then monsters. Now they call us masters. Concord space was unraveling. What began as isolated strikes had grown into a psychological war, a campaign so precise and disorienting that entire empires were tearing themselves apart trying to understand it. But Commander Soraya Vale understood perfectly. This wasn't just warfare. This was narrative control, and humanity now controlled the story. From a shadowed command center aboard Horizon's Wrath, Vale studied intercepted broadcasts from the Varakian Dominion, one of the oldest and most revered empires in the Concord. Protests had erupted across its core worlds. Civilian unrest, elite military defections. Some even raised banners with human symbols, a clenched fist over a burning star. The Relethi and Varakians tried to downplay the chaos, calling the humans lucky vandals. But Vale's real weapon was already working, Operation Mythfire, a carefully crafted campaign of lies implanted into Concord data networks and religious databanks. It began as whispers that the starborn flame from ancient alien prophecy had returned, sent to punish the Concord for its hubris. Ancient texts were forged, temples infiltrated. Artificially generated images depicted long-dead alien prophets predicting humanity's rise. Entire species began to question everything. They've started turning on their own historians, Captain Lin said, astonished, watching footage of Relethi monks burning libraries. They built their power on lies, Vale replied. We just gave the lie a different name. But now, the time for shadows was ending. Humanity's diplomatic fleet, if it could even be called that, dropped into orbit above the Varakian throne world without warning. 8 capital dreadnoughts, accompanied by dozens of stealth escorts, surrounded the imperial planet in a silent, unspoken demand. Kneel or burn. The Varakian Emperor, High Sovereign Hekral V, once declared humanity a temporary disease that would fade in isolation. Now, he stood beneath the black banner of Earth, flanked by his own trembling nobles, and fell to one knee. Not to beg, to surrender. Before trillions across Concord space, the act was broadcast in real time. The once mighty emperor bowed to a delegation of humans led by Vale herself, their armor unadorned, their weapons obvious. He-Crawl's voice trembled. "We accept Earth's terms." Vale didn't smile. She merely nodded. "Then your throne stands for now." Other empires followed. Quietly, quickly, the Threnari matriarchy opened its gates to human envoys. The Miralon Trade Accord sent tribute fleets. Even the defiant Relethi, after their fleet vanished during a failed ambush in the Helix Expanse, issued a message of strategic de-escalation. The war wasn't over, but the order was broken. Earth High Command named Vale the Imperial Architect, responsible for reshaping the Concord structure. No longer a galactic order of exclusion, but a brutal meritocracy, where respect came not from birthright, but power, precision, and purpose. "Why not destroy us?" an alien ambassador asked her one day, confused by the restraint. Vale stared him down, voice low. "Because ashes don't kneel, but emperors do." The galaxy didn't need more ruins. It needed a lesson, and humanity was ready to teach. Savages no more. They burned our names into the dirt. We carved ours into the stars. The skies above the former Concord capital now shimmered with new banners, black and silver, the emblem of Earth. A burning star surrounded by 12 interlocking rings, each representing one of the empires that had once shunned humanity. Now they served under it. Commander Soraya of Vale stood atop the Unity Spire, the highest tower in what was once the Varakian Emperor's palace. The chamber, once adorned with golden carvings of alien supremacy, now held a different monument, a slab of earth-forged obsidian etched with the names of every human who died during the rise. Thousands. Soldiers, scientists, civilians, even the crew of the Envoy Dawn, who had died pleading for peace. They had not been forgotten. A soft chime echoed through the chamber as the newest ambassador entered. Young, tall, and unmistakably not human. A Miralon child, chosen to represent his people in the Union of Free Systems, walked with cautious reverence, eyes wide at the sight of the memorial. "I've studied their names," he said, quietly bowing. "We're taught them in our schools now. We're told they were the first to stand when the rest of us looked away." Vale didn't speak for a moment. Then, history turns not when empires fall, but when memory endures. Across the galaxy, things had changed. Former slave races now sat beside their masters at Earth-led assemblies. Technology, once hoarded by ancient species, was shared under strict human enforcement. Education reform, truth commissions, reparations, all pushed forward under the ever-watchful presence of Earth's Leviathan fleet. But humanity had not grown soft. Their strength remained visible. Every Concord city now housed a sentinel tower, not military bases but reminders. One holographic display looped the same message across all major systems. They called us savages. We answered with silence, then with steel. Now we offer peace. Choose wisely. Not all had chosen peace. There were skirmishes, rogue fleets, assassination attempts. None succeeded, because humanity didn't just win through weapons. They'd rewritten the language of power. No longer seeking validation, they had become the mirror the galaxy could no longer look away from. In private, Vale still carried the voice of that dying Relethi noble with her. Not the savages. Please, not the savages. She remembered how they once flinched at Earth's name. Now they bowed. She exited the tower to the grand plaza below, where a new generation gathered, human and alien children alike, training together in language, science, and command. Not in fear, not in superiority. In unity, enforced through respect. The ceremony began as the last of the old emperors stepped forward, regal robes replaced with a neutral black of the Union. He knelt before Vale, placing a hand over his chest. "I swear fealty to Earth and the Order of the Stars." The plaza fell silent. Vale nodded, "Then rise and serve with honor." The Emperor stood. Humanity had done the impossible. Not through begging, not through rage, through will. They were called savages. Now, the galaxy called them sovereign.